ungodly amount of prepuce.
That a freezer somewhere just filled with foreskins.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unbelievable, where I tell two unbelievable stories to my good friend Kurt.
And I try to guess which is which.
I am renowned bad boy Luis Mejia, and I'm joined here by cop cosplayer Kurt Danner. And I am here, as I said, I am here to tell two stories, and it's up to my dear friend Kurt to determine fact from fiction. Now, what makes this interesting is that Kurt and I know each other very well. So we know how to talk to one another. We know how to convince the other person from truth and keep them away from knowing the truth. So this is going to be a test to see if we can still fool the other person. Are you ready, Kurt?
I'm ready. We're going to see what happens.
Exactly. But before we begin, I think it's only fair, since I'm going to be taking a little bit of the reins today, that Kurt, give us a quick little fun fact to start us off, to get us in the right mindset to try to determine right from wrong.
Little fast fact. Maybe true, maybe false.
Yes, please.
All right. Walt Disney was cryonically frozen after his death to be thawed out at a later day when medicine had progressed. True or false?
That's a false one, Kurt?
You're saying false?
I'm saying false.
That's quick. You're pretty confident. It is false. After his death, Walt Disney was actually cremated. The rumor likely started because the president of the Cryonics Society of California told the LA Times that Disney had asked about the cryonics process. Also, fun fact, people say cryogenically a lot. That's a different thing. If it's people freezing themselves after they die, that's cryonics.
That's cryonic? Incredible.
That's cryonic, baby.
So I think we're going to use that quick fun fact, which you have so fancily given to us, Kurt. That's going to be our base ground. That's going to be our control. And I'm going to try to test out if I can move you to one side or the other and see if you can catch these truths or these lies that I'm about to tell you. Are you ready, Kurt?
All right, I'm ready. Hit me.
So just to remind you, I am going to tell Kurt two stories. One of them is real, one of them is fake, and we'll talk about later which one's which. So we're going to begin talking about one of my favorite subjects. Kurt knows this. I am talking about the Second Mexican Empire.
Oh, it's a classic.
A classic Luis Mejia movie. For those of you that are not aware of this, which most people aren't, Mexico has become an empire twice. Once when it just became independent, and another one 40 years later. So we're talking about mid-1860s. Mexico is an entire empire. These emperors that arrived in Mexico in the mid-1860s were European. They were Austrian. One of them was Maximilian of Habsburg, of the famous Habsburg family, joined by his wife, Carlotta of Belgium, right? And they arrived in Mexico and wreaked a little havoc for 4 years, pranced around. People were not happy. Eventually, it ended with Maximilian's death in 1867. Kurt, you know this. I've talked to you ad nauseum.
Oh, so many times.
Yeah, Kurt, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you have probably not heard this story. During the 4-year period of Mexican Empire, every single Monday, there was a ball held for all the aristocratic families living in Mexico. They were called the Empress Mondays, or Mondays of the Empress, right? So Carlotta, the Empress of Mexico, would organize a ball for all the high dignitaries within Mexico, whether they be European or Spanish or Creole or Mexican. It was just the creme de la creme.
Why does it sound like a happy hour? The Empress Mondays. It's like Empress Monday today and then Taco Tuesday tomorrow. Happy hour 4 to 6.
I mean, Kurt, I'm glad you say that because it's basically what it was. So every Monday they would have this party, but since it was a every week kind of deal, they couldn't pull all the stops every single week, right?
Right.
Journalists of the time actually called them generally casual Mondays. Sure, everyone was dressed.
Casual Mondays, baby.
It's just a casual Monday, but everyone was dressed in their, it's a gala, right? It's a ball, but for example, people from the time say that military people were not allowed to wear their uniforms. Military people were supposed to be dressed like civilians.
Okay.
So, a general air of, hey, let's hang out, let's meet others. Now, that's the context that we're working on here.
Okay.
There is a man, an Austrian man called Karl Kevenhüller,
Ooh.
that arrived from Austria at the beginning of the French invasion that led to the empire. So he's a European man that said, I'm going to be close to the emperors and to the entire court. So he goes to these Empress Mondays, and his diary that he kept from his 3 years in Mexico is actually some of the best records we have from that time.
Okay.
Other than explaining just the lavish dances and portraits that were on the wall, Karl Kevenhüller, or Prince Kevenhüller, as he is known, writes that one night he arrived at the dance, and as he's meeting all these different high society members of high society in Mexico.
The high society lads, the dudes.
Exactly. Yeah. He falls in love. And I have a quote here from him falling in love. As he was dancing, he looks around and he said, he had a look that, quote, a look that penetrated me like lightning.
Whoa, that's sensual, baby. Hang on.
And as he kept looking at this woman, he said that he felt elevated above the stars of eternity.
Wow,
This man was fully into this woman.
We went to one Empress Mondays and immediately simping. I mean, I guess he probably been to others before, but he's 0 to 100.
Exactly. If you traveled halfway across the world, of course you're going to try these things, right? You know, you have nothing to lose, right? You are a 3-month journey away from your hometown. Who's going to talk, right?
That's true.
But here's the problem. This could be all well and good if this man fell in love with a woman. Of course, that happens all the time. We're in Pride and Prejudice times, baby. However, where this gets a little complicated is that this woman was not just married and dancing with her husband, but she was also 16.
Oh,
Now,
Carl, you dog.
Now, the name of the woman is Leonor, like Leonor.
Right.
And she's dancing happily with her husband. And again, 16.
By the way, what conflicting problems those are? 1, she's a child. 2, she's already married.
She's already married. Exactly. Now, where this is interesting is that he describes the husband as an imp, right? Which this man is ready to fall in the good graces of this woman. He's thinking, Prince Karl is thinking, I am going to make this woman fall in love with me no matter what it takes. I don't care that she's married or 16. By the way, this man is like 25 at this point.
It's not as bad as it could be, but it's still not very good. It's not great.
Still, you know, it's 16.
I thought he was going to be like 45, to be honest with you.
No. You know, as far as it goes, late 1800s, this ain't that bad. Anyway, here's what's interesting. This man would not stop flirting with this woman. He saw that she was married, and he would not stop flirting with her, and made it his own determination to fall in love with this woman. So eventually, he became family friends with her husband, and was often seen inside the house of this woman and her husband, and oftentimes would read to her books or play music on the piano to her, to which the wife apparently reported to saying, okay, weird, strange.
So she's not picking up the vibes.
She's not really picking up the vibe, but this man's not giving up. He says he's going to marry this woman.
Carl is here to get loose by any means necessary. Okay,
exactly.
And she's just like, why is he in my house all the time?
And now here's the interesting thing: the Mexican Empire did not last long. It lasted 4 years, and after 3 years, it was falling apart. It really was in shambles.
It's tough.
Now, when it started falling apart, he also became a bit of a confidant of Maximilian, the emperor himself, because he was a member of the army at the time. And he approached Maximilian and told him, hey man, I know things are rough, but you need to continue in your power as the emperor. You need to not abdicate, because why the hell would you? You are an emperor. You're not going to fall for these locals trying to bring you down. You're of European blood. However, this man writes in his diary that the reason he told him that was not for the well-being of the empire. The only reason he approached Maximilian to advise him not to quit this journey, this adventure in Mexico, was that he wanted to spend more time with Leonor, and he wanted to make sure that he kept her safe from Mexican rule, and essentially told the Emperor Maximilian, do not abdicate, man. I've got this 16-year-old married girl waiting for me, and if the empire falls, I never get to see her again.
Could you imagine being emperor and it's all falling apart. You're about to be deposed. You got who knows how many political problems, and your friend comes to you and is like, hey, can you just hang out? I'm trying to get with this 16-year-old. Can you just could you just put up with all these problems for like 5 minutes more?
The thing is, he never told him that to the emperor, because why would you, right?
Carl is a man of superior willpower. He will achieve his goals by if he has to get involved in a revolution, he will.
Exactly. But here's the thing. The empire, as history tells us, started to fall apart, really in a bad way, to the point where Maximilian was shot by firing squad by the Mexican army. And he eventually had to leave to Austria because he was just a Austrian man in Mexico without an empire. What's going to happen? So he goes back to Leonor and tells her, I have to leave. I have to go back to Austria. To which she replies, don't leave. Please do not leave me.
Who will play piano in my house?
Meaning that he knew there was something there, but there was nothing he could do. He had to return to Austria. And he returned to Austria. He married.
He moved on?
He went to Austria, married, had no kids, and then died.
He got involved in international politics for this woman, and he just moved on?
Yeah. And he says in his diary that that's he calls himself a coward for telling Maximilian to not to not stop the Mexican adventure just because he was horny, essentially.
Yeah.
And so there's a chance. There's There's a non-zero chance that the Second Mexican Empire, amongst all its troubles, all other troubles that it had, it ended because a man wanted to get with a married woman. Sorry, a married teenager.
Carl, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's the first story of an empire I love. That's Carl.
Wow.
Poor Carl.
That's poor Carl, but also you got to respect Carl, mad lad he is, He's out here doing it. Nobody else will.
Yeah, he really went the distance and then threw it all away.
Okay, so I gotta say this. I've been thinking this. This is a bold play for you to have picked a story about the Mexican Empire, because what are the odds that there's a crazy story about the Mexican Empire that you haven't told me in the past? So you really got a mind game going with me right now, because I can't believe that you wouldn't have already told it to me if it's true. But I also can't believe that you would have made it up if it was fake, because then I would think, why haven't I heard this yet?
Yeah.
So I'm already in the weeds over here.
I've got you on the ropes, Kurt. Let's just say that. I've got you on shaky ground, you could say.
Yeah, that's true.
But, this is not over. This is just the first story, and I've still got another one to tell you. So continue seasoning in the story I just told you, simmering with a little bit of shallots and some garlic on there. Just think about it. Now, we just talked about the Mexican Empire. It's an empire that I love very, very much. But my love for the Second Mexican Empire is only rivaled by another global empire. Can you guess which one, Kurt? That's right, Kurt. It's the Roman Empire. It's the Roman Empire. As most men my age that are just recently graduated from college, we all have an obsession with the empire, with the Roman Empire. Because
that's
why
true.
wouldn't you?
You know what? It used to be World War II. All guys are obsessed with World War II. Now it's the Roman Empire.
We've moved on.
It's a welcome change, I think.
Listen, I mean, hey, there was one tweet once that say guys will prefer to learn about the Roman Empire than go to therapy. It's true.
It's true. It's true.
So here's my next story. Have I told you, or have you heard of the Emperor Elagabalus, Kurt?
I don't think so.
Elagabalus was one of these emperors that lived a very short life, but very full life. So he was became an emperor in 200 at the age of 14.
All right.
This
Ready
is
to
a
get
man
married.
yeah, time to get married. His name was Marcus, or his emperor name was Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. However, he was from
banger.
Syria. Banger, common name, good name.
Classic.
But he was from Syria, from Roman Syria at the time. And Roman Syria had a bunch of their own deities, their own gods. And his own personal deity, or the deity that he prescribed to, was named Elagabal, which was, I think, the god of the sun. So because he had such devotion to Elagabal, most people from the time, he became known as Elagabalus. So from now on, I'm just going to call him Elagabalus because that's his common name.
Okay.
He became an emperor of one of the largest empires ever at the time. At 14, you have all this power at 14, Kurt. What are you going to do? What are you going to do at this age? Party hard.
Man.
Go crazy.
Exactly.
He was a known, some could say, shit disturber, partier, just all the time. He was known to be very eccentric, too, dressed in incredible clothes, had loads of wives. One of them was kind of controversial because she was a Vestal virgin, which, as the name suggests, are not supposed to be married. But he said, screw it, I'm going to have a Vestal virgin as my wife. And everyone said, well, we hate it. We hate that, but we can't say no.
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Get killed? No. It also is known that he prostituted himself. He was known to just pay other people to sleep with him.
Wait, he's paying or they're paying him?
Actually, yeah, never mind. They're paying for. He was prostituting himself, right? So he was just going out into.
They're paying him.
Yes.
What's the price? What does it cost to sleep with an emperor?
With the emperor? Unclear.
And why? And why is he charging? Like, does he not have enough money?
I'm afraid there's not a lot of details. The biggest historian of the time, Cassius Dio, actually just writes he prostituted himself.
You could not possibly comprehend the goals of Elagabalus.
Exactly. He also loved banquets, and he's actually, some of the biggest stories from this man are known from his banquets. For example, he used to serve extravagant things like ostrich, or just have ostriches running around, as well as there was one time where he let a bunch of flower petals fall from the sky.
Nice.
And to the point where supposedly legend tells us that one person or more than one person suffocated and died because the amount of flower petals that fell on the ground, right? I'm just giving you this context so that you can understand what kind of person this man was.
Right.
Right. So much so that he was so hated by people that he was killed at 18. So
come on.
His
dude.
empire lasted his reign lasted 4 years, from 14 to 18. So rascal years, right? Elagabalus had something. He's kind of seen as this controversial figure even now, because some say he was just the face of zealotry and decadence, but some other historians say that he was actually misunderstood, because one of the biggest things that we remember Elagabalus for was for having a bit of a feminine nature.
Okay.
He actually is said to be considered the first trans person that we know of, because he walked around dressed as a woman, and traditionally women clothes, even asked some doctors to give him a vaginoplasty, so give him a vagina.
Wow.
And so that's and he had it said that he had a general repulsion of men.
Okay.
And there's this one story, and just keep in mind this repulsion of men.
Right.
So Cassius Dio, which is the news, the historian of the time, tells us of this tale that one time he enters a banquet, and one of the people that's in there says, quote, "Hail to my lord the emperor," unquote. And then Elagabalus responds, "Call me not lord, for I am a lady." So he walks in wanting to be addressed as a woman. Now he hosts this banquet for all of the top generals and most masculine people he can find in the empire. Most notably Olympians, past Olympians, so athletes that have competed in all sorts of sports, and some of his top generals of the Roman Empire from all across the Roman Empire at the time. So really, this table at this banquet smells of just man, right? It reeks of just testosterone, which is interesting coming from Elagabalus, who has this bit of a repulsion for men. But
Right.
beside the point, he walks in. It said that he snapped his fingers or gave a command, and a bunch of servants with trays came in and started serving the food. This just very lavish banquet full of wine and this, I don't know, this kind of meat, this dish just prepared in wild, fanciful ways. This meat that no one had ever tried, and they said it was delicious.
This seems like it's going nowhere good.
And now, I have a quote here from Livy, another historian of the time, and I just want to read it to you. It said, quote, "He walked in, accompanied by each side his top aides. Heliogabal was wearing a dress similar to those of the Vestal Virgins, with protuberances of flowers to imitate the female breast. Entering the great hall with his usual tardiness, Caesar announced, 'Manducare prepuzii,' and the generals retreated with great repulsion at this affront." Now, why do you think uttering the phrase, Kurt, "Manducare prepuzii," could bring such a I don't know, could be considered such an affront to these men at this banquet?
I don't know. You know, my Latin is a little rusty. I'm guessing it's gonna be like, "You guys just ate my foot" or something. I don't know. I think it's something with the food.
You're actually on the right track, because manducare means eat, like it's a command, like eat.
Okay.
But do you know what the word prepustus means? It's the root of the English word prepuce, which prepuce is the formal name for foreskin.
All right. All right.
So essentially, this man just walks in and yells, "Eat these foreskins!"
Wow.
Just manducare prepustie. And everyone just lost it. This was a bit of the final straw, where and you know, the bad part about having all these top men that are in positions of power is that eventually, because of this, it's said, at least Cassius Dio says, that he was lifted up immediately after he says this, stabbed several times, and thrown in the Tiber. And
that's like the ancient Roman version of like several people are typing in the chat. Or it's like,
exactly.
Reputation decreased.
Right. The generals did not like this.
The generals will remember that.
Exactly. Now, what's most interesting, and I think this is really how we can connect it to current history, is how Livy tells us that there's evidence of that phrase, manducare prepuscie, written in graffiti across the Roman world. So within Rome, and there's been some ruins in Roman Britain. So as far as Roman Britain, that just have written manducare prepuscie, or like this, or like Aurelius manducare prepuscie. So kind of using
they made a meme of this man.
Exactly. And years later, it's somehow still used in our vernacular, or it's
original.
He's
He's the original meme lord.
He's the original eat a dick.
True.
Which is incredible that that's still an insult that we use today, but it comes from this eccentric, short-lived image of decadence from the Roman Empire.
Wow.
Just. Yeah, so in case you ever want to insult someone, just manducare prepuscie. That's the second story, Kurt. That's the stories I have for you. For you to remember, the first one was the Second Mexican Empire fell because a man was too horny.
Right.
And the second story was a man was also too horny, but He told everyone to go eat a dick.
But technically, they did eat dicks. I guess is
Yeah,
it
technically
known whether it
but-
was actually foreskin or whether he just said that?
I mean, Cassius Dio says that it was a meal of
And
foreskins.
they also recorded that it was pretty good, right?
They recorded that they were not complaining about it.
Interesting.
Right? So they were eating it. They were eating it enthusiastically, is how he says it. He also describes that there was so much. Like, he doesn't describe exactly how much, but it filled the table. So you can just imagine how much foreskin that is.
Wow. Yeah.
just an ungodly amount of prepuce.
They had a freezer somewhere just filled with foreskins.
It's almost biblical. Like, it really is almost biblical how this story is. In my opinion, I think this was going to be more of a prank, and it's just a prank that went too far, gone sexual, if you will, gone wrong.
Right. That's impressive. So, yeah. I mean, you know me, I'm kind of a prankster. Sometimes I get carried away and I go a little bit over the line. I don't think I've ever messed up so badly that I was on the spot stabbed to death and thrown in a river.
But see, here's the thing, Kurt. What surprises me the most about this tale is, where did you get all those foreskins from? Like, did you just get a bunch of men to say the emperor's calling you, like cut him off?
That's true. Is it wilder if he already had them, like he'd been saving them up, or if he like went and got them day of? He's like, hey, bring me one of the servants. Okay, I need 6 dozen foreskins. Go out and get them. Same day delivery. What if you have to pay a little extra? We need them by tonight. I want you to fill this room up to my arm with foreskins.
An ancient Pizarro of foreskin.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Elagabalus did it first. Okay. Is it time for me to make my
I think
guess?
it's time for deliberation, Kurt. It's time for you to I don't know. I'm opening the floor to any further questions that you think might lead you to the truth here. But yes, let's see. What do you think happened?
Man, I'm really on the fence because I feel for some reason more confident that the Carl Mexican Empire story is true. I don't know why. It just feels a little more real. But however, at the same time, I feel like having gone to somewhat of a liberal arts college, that I've heard the name Elagabalus before in conjunction with first trans person.
Uh-huh. It's a tough one because, I mean, as you know, I'm a big fan of both of these, right?
No, you did it. You did a really good job, and the Roman Empire one's a pretty big swing too, because I know a lot about that. So either way, yeah, I'm so deep in the weeds over here about this. The mind game side of it, I haven't even gotten to think about like which one seems more believable. Oh man. Okay, I think I'm gonna say that I believe the Elagabalus one is fake, because the Mexican Empire one, I feel like if it was made up, it would have been a little bit more outlandish. It still was pretty outlandish, but I feel like it would have been a little bit more. I think that's why it feels real, because it's got some really wild parts, but also some really just like regular life parts.
All right, so you're saying Elagabalus is fake and Mexican Empire is real?
Lock in my answer. All my chips on the table.
I regret to inform you that you are correct.
Yeah!
That is true.
Oh,
that is exactly the right answer. So it is true that in the Mexican Empire, this man wanted to sleep with a married 16-year-old and never got to.
Pour one out. Pour one out for Carl.
Yeah, and potentially influence Maximilian of Habsburg to have the decay of the Second Mexican Empire. Elagabalus was a real emperor. He was a real emperor, and he is considered to be the first trans person, or to be the first trans person that we have written.
Okay.
Most of the context that I gave you is true. However, it is not said that he had a repulsion to men. That is something I made up.
Okay.
He did marry a Vestal virgin. That is true.
Okay.
He did love these banquets. However, the story of him telling everyone to eat a dick while simultaneously having them eat dick or foreskin is not true. That is something I made up.
I wish I could go back to 30 seconds ago when I believed that people ate foreskin.
I will say, manducare prepucie is the correct way to tell someone to go eat a foreskin.
Nice.
So, yeah, you got it correct, Kurt. So, as a congratulations, we are starting a tally to keep track of who's got right, who's got wrong stuff. And right now, it is 1-0 to Kurt.
Yeah,
So
baby.
you have one tally on there for guessing correctly. So that brings us to the end of this installment of Unbelievable with Kurt and Luis. Kurt is in the lead with 1.
Woo!
And I have none, considering we have not done another one. But next time, Kurt will tell me 2 unbelievable stories, and I will do my best to decipher the fact from fiction. And we'll, I guess, see you next time?
See you next time.